Kuphi na kuphi emakhaya amadolobheni aseComplasta khona sawubona ke mbukeli. Welcome to this week's edition of Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. Uhlelo kwenu lethela ke konke lokuthinza nini namalungelo enu njengebathengi. Mina ke bekunene ngingiSimphiwe Ngqongwane. Bathengela abanengi solo bagadze ngalabovu emehlo imali tabo the two-pot retirement system kuthi tingene emabhange abo. Sengeduluke kwetigitsigitsi letisihlanu temarandi noma ke 5 billion rand imali ye two-pot system leseyikhishiwe ukuthi ke bathengi ke solo licalile lo hlelo lwe two-pot. Asingene endzabeni yethu ke sive kabantu ukuthi luhamba njani lo hlelo. The Government Employees Pensions Fund, the GEPF, promises good news to hundreds of thousands of civil servants who are still waiting for their two-pot pension withdrawals. Kulenzeleke ukuthi timali te two-pot system dalabanengi tiphume kuleli viki. The payout delays have been attributed to technical difficulties. Kodwa ke labe GEPF bacela ke bantu ukuthi bahlale ethembeni futhi ke babeketelele. Manje khuluma kabanti ke ngekuphuma kwetimali te two-pot retirement system asesimukele ke Meiring Coetzee lena ke ubukele ema claims Government Pension Administration Agency GPAA. Very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Sipiwe.
You know, Meiring, we're getting so many reports that people are still not paid even after they've been approved. What seems to be the problem?
Sipiwe, where we are currently are with the claim submissions from our active members, we are on about 308,000 claims that's been submitted. And we are, as this morning, we have paid about 186,000 of these claims.
Okay.
So the current delays that we experience and reasons for non-payment, if I can go logically through it, is the biggest one we're picking up is that there's ongoing divorces on our system that's been registered, that we need to follow up and make sure that there's no monies due to the non-member spouse. If we pick up on that, we can then remove the warning or the block on the payment to allow for the processing of payment.
Which means, just to cut you off there, which means that the divorced party, the money will not go to one individual.
It will go to the non-member spouse of the member.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
Yes, based on the divorce settlement, correct.
Right, right. Are you at all overwhelmed by the number of applications coming through?
Simpewe, we anticipated the number of applications. If we look at what the industry indicated and the percentage of active members of any fund that claimed, we anticipated that in the first episode. We also discussed the number of hits that we're getting on our system on both the self-service smartphone application as well as on the web service. I would say we are overwhelmed based on the volumes of the claims versus what we normally pay per annum or per month. But we're definitely getting the assistance from our own service providers as well as within the agency, and definitely from our colleagues at SARS that's assisting us to process these volumes of claims quicker and faster and more effective at the end of the day.
Okay. So you are saying that you just made example of some of the divorce issues that you've picked up. So why do the entire group of people who are supposed to claim get affected by an individual claim?
It's on an individual basis in PWA. So if there's a divorce block on my case, it will not impact on the processing of your case. So we process what we can. What we currently have also is a daily limit that we are processing based on the allocation of the cash management, etc.
Okay.
So, but we're catching up quite fast. If we look at the outstanding claims, about 120,000, if we take it through the process, we should be able to meet our SLA that we communicated in the first session as well.
Okay.
So we still have the SLA of 60 days that we require to pay. Some of the issues that we also picked up, we still have members with old cell phones. Old technology cell phones. We did mention it in the previous session.
Okay.
We're still picking up on that. But the volumes of claims, if you look at the 300,000 versus our total active membership of 1.287, is a good indication that when you can access the app, you have the latest version downloaded, your phone is compatible, you can submit your claim as well as on the web portion or the web version of the self-service application.
So, Meiring, would you say that the huge volumes of applications have slowed down the entire process?
Yes, I can say that based on the we did prepare for it. Our whole approach to how we went about to allow for claims catered for this scenario where we totally move away from manual processing or paper processing. And the anticipation was, due to the high volume claims, we would have not been able, with the current capacity, both staff capacity as well as systems, resources, to process it. And that's why we went for the total automated solution, where we allow for submission, the bank verification, as we mentioned, automated, the tax directives, automated as well. I did mention about the assistance from SARS. When we picked up the huge volumes, yes. They immediately allowed us to up our daily limit. So previously, we processed about 10,000 tax directives maximum on a monthly basis. SARS allows us now to process at a maximum of 50,000 per day. So they came to the party.
Well, it works for them.
And definitely, and they definitely assisting us, making it easier for us as well as then for our members to make sure that we pay the money out net of tax at the end of the day.
So is it mandatory that members need to have the GEPF app to start the application process, or is there other means or methods?
Simply for now, and based on the risk that we identified for fraudulent claims, we only allow for submission on the self-service application. Based on the validations we included, as we mentioned, the bank validation, where we use your bank account that you have with your employer. So we are pretty sure that the bank account where you receive your monthly salary should be the correct bank account. So if there's interception of login credentials, etc., you can just pay out to that bank account, that there's no overriding of bank accounts, manual forms coming in, possible risk of internal errors or internal collusion, etc. And that's why we went only for the self-service application.
Right, right. Any technical glitches that you've encountered?
The one that I mentioned already on the version of the phones, the operating system option. Yes, we have, once again, there are people that's complaining about the OTPs. We're attending to that and the volumes of claims that we're receiving, as well as the, how can I put it, the business as usual type of inquiries, where we have pensioners also using the self-service application for various other reasons, pensioner increase letters, monthly payment advices, etc. So we must cater for all of these volumes, plus the increased volume of the two-pot claims.
And ever since this program started, and ever since we've had you on the show, we never, tired to overemphasize the importance of education, and people are still not fully educated about this. So any misconceptions or misperceptions that you're picking?
Simpiwe, what we have picked up since the last interview is definitely that people did read up on what we proposed. We did mention that people, members must be informed of what they can claim, how they can claim it. And based on the volumes, the 300,000 plus claims, you can pick up that people know what to do and how to claim. A big issue that I cannot overemphasize is that people must clearly understand, if I claim from my savings pot, what impact will it have on my benefits? Either resignation benefits or then one day at retirement. How that withdrawal from the savings pot for the current tax year to the maximum of 30,000 and subsequent tax years where I can withdraw a third of my, or that's allocated to the savings pot. So that's a key concept to understand, will I have sufficient money at my old age at retirement versus withdrawing money now from my savings pot up until I retire.
And I wonder if people are well versed when it comes to that, because there's always the temptation of keep on withdrawing every single tax year. And by the time they reach 60, then there's nothing.
Simply,
do you advise them of that possibility though?
I won't say nothing. Your 2/3 will be in your retirement pot. But you can think 1/3 of your benefit, if you reduce it with 1/3 that you would have got, it's quite a big impact. On the GEPF website, as I mentioned in the first episode as well, there's multiple write-ups on the two-pot claim itself from the savings pot, as well as there's a very detailed two-pot member guide where all these items are explained. Yes, there can still be questions because you're unsure of sometimes very technical questions. The GEPF definitely is attempted to make it as common language as possible for people to understand this concept. We do think people are aware of it, the type of questions we're receiving. We are already receiving questions post the claiming from the savings pot to understand what will my benefit be.
Yes.
And that's the next phase that we will introduce in a subsequent session, where we're now busy to understand if you have withdrawn or in the process of withdrawing, how will it impact on your benefits, how we change it, how do we inform you of that changes in your benefits on your benefit statements as well.
Okay. I know we've discussed this previously, but can you just remind our viewers and members how many times a year, or is there a limit, or can I claim in tranches, or just what's the situation there?
Zimbabwe, for the first tax year, the current one we are in up until 28 February 2025, you can withdraw once in a tax year to the maximum of 30,000 and a minimum of 2,000. Not all members will have 30,000 in their savings pot based on the actuarial value as on 1 September, but they can claim all of that. Then, in the next tax year, you can then withdraw again from your savings pot as it grows over the 12 months in the tax year. So if you withdraw early, you would obviously have less in your savings pot versus withdrawing in month 12, where you have the allocation of the 1/3 to your savings pot at the end of the day.
Okay, got you. Let's leave it there for now. Mbukele sibambe lapho ke sizishilela ngasetitolo ke hlala kanye nathi siyabuya khona manje, and after the break we'll be taking your calls. Leli ke Yilungelo Lakho, we'll be right back. Sikomukele futhi mbukele tincingo lethu sethuvuliwe ukuthi nawe ungaba ingcenye inkulumo yethu namhla ungashare icingo khona manje ku 011 714 0671 noma ke 011 714 0672 khona lapha e-studio. Ungasithumela futhi ne-email ku consumer@sabc.co.za or catch us on our social media platforms. Namhla ke bekunene sikhuluma ke nge-two-pot system. Saying so ichazile ke GEPF noma ke Government Employees Pension Fund through the GPAA, which is the Government Pensions Administration Agency, ukuthi ke imali seyireleasiwe kepha ke isakangeni ke kuma bank account ke ema member noma ke amalunga lamanengi. Ngina Meiring Coetzee yena ke uqhamuka lapha e-GPAA uchazile ke lokunene phambilini ukuthi tingcinamba lebadibene nato ukuthi ke bantu bashintshe tinombolo tabo telucingo bangachazeli be-GEPF. Waphindza wachaza futhi ukuthi indzaba te-divorce labanye ke there's divorce claims that are going on manje ke sekulukhuni for i-GEPF ukuthi ke ifake imali kuloyo longeke noma ke kuloyo lotawudivorca nelilunga le-GEPF. Siyachubeka futhi nenkulumo yethu ke, you can ask your questions, you can share your thoughts, you can share your experiences ukuthi ke ingabe uthole uve kunjani na uya emahhovisi e-GEPF uyoclaima ke i-two-pot yakho, nekuthi ke yini lofise ukuthi kwendeke kuze ukuthi ke lolu hlelo luchubeke kahle ke as smoothly as possible. Meiring, we were just discussing off camera about the importance of educating people about this. So let's just go back a bit and on some of the challenges that you've encountered as this program started from the 1st of September.
Simpiwe, as you mentioned, the divorce cases is definitely causing delays as well as non-payment of the due benefits.
Yeah.
What we're also picking up, and it's very good news from the first interview that we had, that there's a very small amount of bank verifications that failed. So the bank accounts in general we found to be very accurate. So definitely our members and our employers cooperated, and we have good data on that one. Also on the tax directive, there's good news. We have, out of the 186,000 we paid, we have about, at this stage, 50 that was not finalized for various reasons. So if you look percentage-wise, it's excellent, and the members, their tax affairs are in order. So that's good news, and that will not cause any further delays. As I mentioned, once again, the daily volumes that we're processing can cause delays. And we're also aware of, based on the channels for queries coming into the building, into the administration, as well as at the GPF, the fund, on members that claimed first that were not paid yet. So that can include various scenarios, either divorce warnings, bank verifications, or then just slow processing of these specific benefits. The approach that we followed, if you're ready to be paid and we can include you in a payment run, we will pay you.
Okay.
So rather
and how long does that take, though, from approval to payment?
What we have picked up, the quickest payments went through in 3 days.
Oh, okay.
So we took the approach to say what we can pay, we will pay. Yes, there will be people that claim earlier than people claiming later, where the person that claimed later received the money before the person that claimed earlier. We will chase up on those. That's where we receive the queries, and that's where all our channels are currently occupied to attend to these cases not paid. So the general communication that we receive is that my colleague sitting next to me claimed after me, but he or she received a savings pot withdrawal already, and I have not yet received it. So we're definitely aware of it. We are chasing actively up on it to make sure that where possible we stick to the first in, first out principle of having the money ready for the people that claim first.
Now, Meiring, is it possible for a member to determine how much they will get? Well, the reason I'm asking this question is that maybe, say for instance, I needed 30,000 Rand. Obviously, I will not get the entire 30,000 Rand because of so many factors, like I'm owing SARS, for instance. And SARS tells me that I'm owing 30,000 Rand, and then the process is not worth it. So is it possible to determine how much I'm entitled to get?
Simply, it's difficult for the GEPF to determine if you have outstanding tax. But what I can indicate is that we picked up on the average tax rate of the 30,000, or then the maximum amount that's claimable, is around 28%. Out of the 186,000 that we paid, we picked up about on, let's say, 250 cases where the member actually received R0 based on outstanding money from SARS. So the occurrence is not that big.
Then it makes the whole exercise, futile.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely futile, as well as outstanding tax returns, but I have indicated the tax declines is very limited. 28% you can work on. I'm aware as a taxpayer myself that SARS do correspond with me via my e-filing app, or then via the correspondence function to indicate to me that I have outstanding returns, taxes, outstanding penalties, interest in the normal items. So members can go to the e-filing, get the information there and determine if I claim my 30,000 or in the subsequent tax years more than my total third, if there will be problems with deductions from SARS against my claim.
Okay. Meiring, we were just discussing off camera that the younger members are more at an advantage, because if they claim and then there's a process of them getting that money back into their savings pot or back into their pensions account. Do you want to take us through that?
See, what we have picking up based on the infographics, as we call it, or the statistics on the claims, between 3, 4 and let's say 40. The majority of our claims are coming from that age gap. So we do pick up that our older members did educate themselves to understand that if I claim now, it will have an impact when I retire soon. So on the members themselves, currently the vehicles that's available to them to make up for money withdrawn from the savings pot, we have purchase of service. It's part of the GEPF rules where you can procure a number of months or years of service based on a certain formula that's available. So prior to two-pot, that was already available. And also another...
So sorry, I'm lost a bit there. Purchase of service, what does that mean?
Simply, so let me give you an example. I have 8 years of service, and I calculate if I retire at age 60, I will have 15 years of service. And I pick up that, for example, I have additional money that I can put into the fund to procure additional service. Then I can purchase service, I can pay the GEPF the money, and they will add that service for me to increase my 15 years to an amount equal to the value of that money that I purchased the service for. Okay. There's also another vehicle that's available, and it's called a transfer in. For example, I have a retirement annuity. And at whatever age or when I can access it, I can take that money and move it to my GEPF. If that is my choice. So that options are available to members. They are aware of it. It's nothing new. It was there prior to two-pot. And that's the only two vehicles that currently allow you to make up for withdrawals that you made. Just to mention, sorry, Simpewe, it is very expensive. Purchase of service. It is an expensive formula.
In what sense?
To procure years of service. So there is a formula available currently on the calculators on the website.
Yes.
That can be used to determine the number of years based on your average salary, based on your service years, etc., etc.
So if I'm a younger member, do I automatically, apply, or am I automatically entitled for that, or do I have to go through certain processes?
There is a certain process to go through, but you're entitled to have access to purchase of service. There's no rule cancelling you out of not procuring service.
Okay.
The frequency of purchase of service is not that high, based on the cost of purchasing service, but we think based on the fact that people will pick up at the point, if I withdraw all my savings pot the whole time, that there can be a gap when I retire one day on the income I would have received without withdrawals from the savings pot versus with the withdrawals from the savings pot. And that's the formula that will be used to determine. And I assume the financial advisors, for example, myself, I'm a GEPF member and I have other pension and retirement annuities, to make that calculation and determine that cash flow one day when I'm off, based on my increased medical expenses, etc. Will I have sufficient money to survive?
Good point. Good point. All right, let's now take our first caller. Sina Yilungelo Lakho Cape Town.
Hi, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm good. Just taking this wrong game. Keep down.
Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
I claim on the 2nd of September.
Okay.
And then I got an SMS, everything saying that my claim will be reviewed until now. But I know, like, my colleagues claimed after me. Then they just waited for 2 weeks and then they got their money.
Okay.
And then others, they received like an SMS from SARS to say, like, they're checking the claim and everything.
So you still haven't got your money?
Yes.
Do you have any outstanding issues with SARS?
No, I don't have.
What seems to be the problem? What are they telling you? Have you tried to inquire?
I did on my app, via my app, but I never received anything from them, like a feedback or call or something.
Okay, Zonke, please stay on the line. Our guest is definitely in studio and he will help you. But for now, let's take a quick break. Yilungelo Lakho. Komukela mbukeli ukuthi ukhumbula ukuthi ngaba ingcenye elicingo elihlelo lethu namhla ungashala icingo khona manje mbukeli ungashala icingo khona manje on the numbers on your screens right now 011-714-0671 noma ke 011-714-0672. You can also send us a WhatsApp 060-844-9857. You can also email your views to consumer@sabc.co.za or interact with us on our Facebook page. Now, before that break, Meiring, we had a caller who's also a member of GEPF who said that she applied on the 2nd of September and those who applied after her have already got the money, but she still hasn't. And she doesn't have any tax directive or any outstanding issues with SARS. What could possibly be the problem?
Zonke will have to share information with us, please, that we can follow up. She correctly indicated that SARS do inform you if they issue a tax directive that's finalized, as we call the status, that there's no problems.
Right.
And they do instruct the JPA to deduct the amount of tax. So if we can get the credentials and details, we will definitely engage with her to understand if there's any issues on the system, warnings, etc., or blocks on a system, on a record itself, that we can process that payment for her.
All right. Okay, Zonke, please, thank you so much for your call. Make sure that you get in touch with our producers. Stay on the line so they could take your details and solve your issues expeditiously. And there's another issue of, the alarming reports of missing contributions when a member tries to apply and then there's nothing. Really?
Simpiwe, at the GPF, fortunately, we do not have that problem. Our active members are safe. The money is paid over to the GPF, invested on their behalf, etc. So we don't have that problems where money is deducted from your monthly salary, supposedly paid over to a pension fund, and it's not done. So for the GPF, we don't have that problem. One of the problems that we have, when we initially accessed all the records for our active members in anticipation of seeding the money to the savings pot, we have picked up out of the 1.28 odd million active members that we had about in the beginning 2 weeks ago, about 38,000 records where we couldn't calculate the benefits for the member to determine the vested pot and then the amount to be seeded. Fortunately, over the last 2 weeks, we received good cooperation from the internal operational units as well as the employers and the members to resolve these issues. So we're down to about 10,800 of these records where there's no seeding amount. So just to explain it, when a member, active member, access the app and they go onto the savings pot withdrawal, they will see a rand value of 0 in their savings pot.
Right.
They can then also engage with us just to understand what's the problem. We have put operational reports in place to actively chase those records and make sure that we can seed that money. So out of the 1.2...
But it doesn't mean that if the balance is 0.00, there's 0 in the account.
Correct.
Okay.
They still qualify for the savings pot. There's just a problem or service record issue that we need to resolve to allow them access to their savings pot.
All right, let's take our next caller. We've got Christopher from Pinoni.
Hello.
Christopher in Pinoni, good afternoon. Welcome. Siyaphila kunjani baba? Khuluma nami baba. What's on your mind? Please say that again.
Online.
Okay, we apply it.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so wafuna withdraw, yadraw, ifike ngiqale ngayidraw, uma ngiyidraw, yazi ukuthi ngiyidrawe yonke. Ngadraw encane.
Okay.
No, encane yaphuma, yona lencane yaphuma. Emva kwalokho uma ngithi ngifuna ukuthi ngidrawe lenye, ayisafuni ukuthi iphume bese kanjani lapho ngithola ukwazi ukuthi mhlawumbe into ezoyenza next year or mhlawumbe isazophuma yini this year.
Maneke Christopher, uthi apply the entire amount and you are approved for the entire amount. Kepha ke naso withdraw only a certain portion you are allowed to withdraw.
Yes.
Okay. Leyo indzaba yakho na SARS ime kanjani?
No, indaba yezofasi iclean yona iclear. Iyalekha noma nayo ivumile ukuthi iphume lena. So nale ngoba efelile.
Okay.
Ayathina withdraw. Akazi iphuma ngani mhlawumbe iphuma next year. Ufuna ukuthi iphuma next year or iphuma this year.
Okay, Christopher, siyabonga kakhulu ukushayela. Ukhona ke Meiring Coetzee from GEPF utachazela ukuthi kubangelwa yini lokho. So in a nutshell, Meiring, he's saying that he was approved and like his withdrawals were approved, but when he had to go and do the actual withdrawal, he was not allowed to withdraw the entire amount, only a certain portion. So he doesn't know whether he's supposed to withdraw a certain tranche or he's going to withdraw the entire amount next year.
Simply the allocation or the seeding to the savings pot, the formula was based on 10% of your vested pot value as at 1 September to the maximum of 30,000. So we do have members that at the 1st of September in the vested pot, if you calculate the 10%, it's less than the 30,000. So the 30,000 is the maximum amount. Once again,
hang on a second, which means I'm only entitled to withdraw 10% from the 30,000 that
No.
I've been approved.
No. So what we do simply, we calculate your vested pot at 1 September. Then we seed 10% of that vested pot to your savings pot to the maximum of 30,000. So let's say my vested pot on the 1st of September was 1 million rand. 10% is 100,000 to the maximum of 30,000. So I will be able to claim 30,000 in totality. If my vested pot at 1 September was, for example, 50,000, 10% of 50,000 is only 5,000. So that will be your maximum amount that you can claim. Once again, similar to the question from Sonke, let us investigate to understand the value of that vested pot, to calculate it, and then to give feedback to Christopher on his query, on the value, how it was calculated, as well as the functionality that we have to display, how we calculate that amount.
Okay, so basically what could have possibly happened to Christopher?
As I'm sitting here, the only reason for that is that his 10% was less than the 30,000, based on the details that you explained to me that you asked about.
Okay, so when can we claim the rest of the amount?
In a subsequent tax year, you have one withdrawal per tax year. So next year, it won't be limited to the 10%. It will be the full third that will be moved to your savings pot, obviously on a monthly basis as we recalculate your savings pot.
Okay.
And simply, this is typical of the type of technicalities that goes into this two-pot member guide, where people need to grasp that concept of the 10% to the maximum of 30,000. Next year, if you have a big vested pot or a big actuarial value in the fund, your 1/3 will be more than the 30,000, or it can be less if you only started recently or only joining the fund, let's say next year in June as an example. So it's all based on service, your average salary, and the calculation of your value as at that point in time.
So for those who don't qualify for the purchase of service, just to ensure that my pension does not diminish in any way, so is there a way of ensuring that I just pay back whatever I've borrowed, well, over time, of course, not in the immediate future?
Simply way to make it non-technical. The first one, as we said, educate yourself. Make sure, if I withdraw my money from my savings pot, what's the knock-on effect at retirement age?
Yes.
So if you have that understanding, and the calculators will be available to calculate that. So you can, based on a sliding scale, determine if I withdraw this amount, what's the impact on my benefits, versus a bigger amount, what's the impact? And that will illustrate to you to say, rather withdraw half of it or nothing at all at the end of the day. We cannot prescribe to you to say to do it or not to do it. It's your right to the access to the savings pot. But just to understand the implications, be educated, get assistance where required. We have the staff available through our channels, as well as we have picked up as well that the employers are already assisting as well. Several employers approached us with technical questions where we're assisting them, that they, at the employer themselves, can then explain to the members, as well as our client license officers that's deployed all over the country to the different departments. Ask the questions. If you're not sure, ask us, this is what I want to do, what will the impact be, the pros and the cons, etc., etc.
All right, let's leave it for now. Kwanyalo Mbukele sisishirele futhi ngasetitolo sitawuqhubeka futhi nenkulumo yethu emva kwaleli khefu. Leli Yilungelo Lakho ungasanyakati. Siyabuya khona nyalo. Welcome back, Mbuyele. Our participation lines are still open for you to take part in our discussions. Share licino khona manje lapha ku studio ku 0117140671 noma ke 0117140672. Ungasithumela futhi ne-WhatsApp ku 060-844-9857. You can also email your thoughts to consumer@sabc.co.za. Ungaphinza usifole futhi na ku Facebook. We've got our next caller, sina Poli ulapha ke eMthatha. Sakumole Poli, ehlelweni sawubona.
Hello, Butwam. Ngicela ukubuza. Ngibukele ilungelo lami apha. Isekade ya GEPF.
Yes.
Ngifuna ukuqonda bengidivosiwe apha ipartner yami ngoJune. So ngoku ndaqonda mandenze ke ngoku u2pot. So yilonto engifuna uyazi uba ndizakwazi na kumfumana u2pot ekubeni ngidivosiwe.
Okay, udivorce nini sisi?
Ndidivorce ngoJune lo muntu.
Udivorce ngoJune. Okay, all right. Siyabonga kakhulu kusifonela. Please stay tuned to SABC1 Ilungelo Lakho ke. She's basically saying that she got divorced in June. So she wants to kickstart the process of applying for the two-pot. Will she get it? That's the question.
Simpiwe Polly will get a two-pot. The impact of the divorce based on the actual divorce date will determine the impact on her benefits. So currently the clean break legislation is in place, where based on your divorce settlement, the GEPF will be required, or the GEPF will be required to pay over that benefit to the non-member spouse or your ex-spouse. The impact will determine, was the divorce date before the 1st of September or after the 1st of September, and the impact that it will have on your benefits. This is not an easy one, based on certain conditions, the divorce settlement, etc., etc. All the other items, is she a new member, is she an existing member with long service? All of that items will impact on the processing.
What are the factors that makes it so difficult? Because according to the policy, if you apply before September, then you are entitled. In this particular case, she's saying that she got divorced in June.
If she got divorced in June, if the divorce was not finalized by the 1st of September, it will definitely have an impact on her amount in her savings pot. So what I can say to Polly, if she accessed the app or then the web version, if she can assist us then to understand the savings pot, is there an amount in the savings pot? If there is an amount, you can claim that amount. The divorce, as I mentioned, is one of the first hurdles that we must make sure that there's no monies due, and then we will allow you to claim. So it can go back to that one scenario that I already mentioned, that the divorce block, or the warnings as we call it, can have an impact on, firstly, access to your savings pot, and secondly, if you already claimed, on the processing of that claim to your bank account.
All right. Now, we keep getting more queries and questions from our viewers and members who are saying that they actually cannot understand. I'm actually glad that Christopher raised this issue earlier on over the phone, saying that, you know, you are not entitled. Say, for instance, you want to withdraw the entire 30,000, but you are not entitled, but you can only withdraw 10% of that. Maybe if you could just share with us in granular detail, in simple terms, what that means, and where can I know how much I'm entitled of the 30,000? Is there a statement that I can refer to, or I can go to, you know, to the GEPF offices to get a sense of how much I'm entitled to from the 30,000?
Simply, that's the most basic concept of your withdrawal functionality available on self-service. When you access the self-service application and you go to the savings pot withdrawal and you click on that button, we show you what you're entitled to. And that will happen for the 30,000 or the lesser amount, and for subsequent years based on your 1/3.
It has a 10% show.
The 30,000 or the 10% will definitely show. So when Christoph submitted his claim, it should have indicated to him that it was less than 30,000. There may be reasons why it's reduced, excluding SARS, and that's why I say we need that information that we can assist Christopher with his specific scenario. Question from Zonki, my colleague next to me claimed after me, was paid before me. That can also be assisted to understand why we haven't paid out.
Okay, let's talk about a different dimension. Is SARS the only authority authorized to deduct from my two-pot payment? The reason I'm asking this is that, you know, there could be other factors or other authorities or other bodies that may be entitled to my money, such as a garnish order, such as a maintenance, a case, maybe a child maintenance case. So can those also deduct apart from SARS?
Simply, as I'm sitting here, it's only SARS that can deduct from your savings pot withdrawal. We can confirm if there's any technicalities around that where you have a maintenance order against you for a monthly deduction. Normally, what I'm aware of is that we will deduct it in the event that you are a pensioner. We will deduct it from your monthly pension. While you're an active member, you don't have, other than the savings pot, access to your benefits, or your early access to your benefits. So that won't impact. But I can qualify that, and I'll definitely come back to you guys after an engagement with the operational guys as well as the technical guys to understand if there's any possibility that that can impact, and that it should be a consideration before I withdraw from my savings pot.
Yeah, because some members want to know that once the money reaches my account, is it still, does the GEPF or SARS have control over it, or other, other creditors may have a hand in it?
If you withdraw and we pay it into your account, it's your money.
Okay. All right. Let's leave it for now. Please do join us after this break. Welcome back, and another issue that I'm picking up from our viewers and our members is that there is a concern that payments will only be made to the same account that is used to pay the member's salary, and you cannot update your banking details on the app. This can be done through the employer. Is that correct?
100% correct, Simpiwe. The process was communicated up front already to make sure that certain items are in place, certain information such as the bank account. And yes, the current method to change your bank account at your employer, to pay to your salary to a different bank account, the same process will apply there.
So basically, the money will only be paid after the change of the banking details?
We will pay with the current banking details that we have.
Yes.
A very good question. We have also picked up where everything is in place and we pay to their bank account, that on the payment to that bank account, the money was also pushed back, for example.
Oh, okay.
Maybe an inactive account, you closed that account and you opened a new account, we were not informed. So as long as there's an active bank account that we have at the time of the claim from your employer, we will pay to that bank account.
Okay.
If that bank account is closed or frozen or whatever reason, it will come back to us, and then we will request via the employer the new credentials. We will get it from the employer, and then we will be able to process that payment to you.
Right. And another pertinent issue that is worth everybody's attention, every member's attention, is the impact on the members' benefits. So if I withdraw from the two-pot system, what impact would that have on my other benefits in the cycle?
Simpewe, as part of the planning for the deployment of the two-pot legislation changes, if I can put it into context, the withdrawal of your savings pot is a very small portion of this big legislative change. Mm-hmm. You correctly touched on a very valid point that the impact on the withdrawal on your benefits and the calculation of your benefits is down the next phase. So Meiring have submitted, for example, a claim in September. I've been paid out, and Meiring leave the fund at end of November.
Yeah.
What is the impact of that savings pot withdrawal? So we will communicate that with an existing channel that we had prior to two-pot, where we issued benefit statements. So you had access on the self-service application to your benefit statement. Mm-hmm. And your benefit statement just indicates to you, as at a certain date, this is your resignation benefit, this is your death benefit, and this is your retirement benefit, obviously projected to the age of 60, or if you're older than 60, up to the age of 65. Just to give you an indication of what is your value at this point in time. The same vehicle, the benefit statements will be adjusted to allow people to understand if they have withdrawn, what is the impact on their benefits. If they did not withdraw, what is their benefits now. Mm-hmm. And that's the vehicle that we will use for active members. They're used to it. We have picked up from self-service prior to two-pot that members are accessing those benefit statements. If we look at the type of queries, the walk-ins in our regions as well as our call center, benefit statements was always a high percentage for active members. Mm-hmm. And that's what you use to do your planning, your retirement planning, to understand, do I need extra retirement planning? Do I need to have extra facilities? Yes. Will it be sufficient? If I look at myself, maybe I'm not healthy, I've got to have an increased medical a bill to pay on a monthly basis or a medical contribution. Okay. Will I have enough money? And that's definitely the next phase or the bigger portion of it, to proceed with that calculation.
And what about members who go on a 2-year sabbatical leave, for instance, and they move out of the country? So will the payment only be made if I'm resident here in South Africa or any other country, as long as I'm still a member?
Simpewe, based on legislation, if I understand correctly, if you go on a sabbatical, you can either leave the fund, resign, and then leave the fund. Then you will have access to all your funds. Or you can go on a sabbatical and have a period where I do not contribute to the fund.
Okay.
We do not see it a lot. It's definitely a lot there, but there is legislative rules around that in the GEP law to cater for that where you leave it.
But why would I have to resign when I'm still under the employ of government?
It's not a forced resign. You can resign, or you can go on the sabbatical, go and study your MBA and focus on it and get it done, and then come back and contribute. But there is current rules available for that. And it's maybe a good idea to speak to these kind of items when we go in a subsequent episode to the claiming of my benefits post my savings pot withdrawal or non-withdrawal.
Right, right. So as we wrap the show, Meiring, what are some of the words of advice do you have for members? What is it that they need to know?
Simpewe, what we picked up, and based on the question from Zonki as well as Christoph, when will we get paid? We're attending to that. We will make sure that we reach the SLA as we communicated from day one of the 60 days, as well as the first in, first out where possible. But we will not hold payments back if we can pay. So we will pay when we can pay. The next one is definitely, please go and read the two-pot member guide if there's any questions. If there's still questions, you can engage with the GPAA or then with the GPF on your questions. But make sure you have a very good understanding. If I withdraw, what is the impact? How will it impact me one day at my old age of 60 or 65 when I retire?
What are some of the common questions that you're getting?
Simpewe, to be honest, the questions that I'm getting is, why am I not paid? As simple as that for now. We're already picking up from the questions we're receiving from the employers. The next phase is coming, where people withdraw and want to resign, retire, go off on ill health, possible impact if I pass away, what will be the impact on my benefits as well as on my spouse,
Okay.
and the calculations around that at the end of the day.
So what's the level of involvement do the employers have, or is this a transaction between the GEPF and the member?
What I understand is that it's a service from the employer to the employee as an active member. So even at the JEPF, we have internal communications and communications to educate us, to make sure that when you do this, that this is the impact. And it's all part of this educational drive.
Yes.
Especially your biggest employers where we picked up, and I don't want to mention names, we do pick up where there's large volumes of two-pot claims in a department or an employer. There's more questions from the employer, and they're actively involved. And it's a good thing that they can assist us, because the channel to the employer is sometimes easier than a channel to the JEPF or a GPF or a regional office or calling a call center at the end of the day.
Okay, so the best way to get more information is to call through the call center, or do I have to walk in and ask more questions from a GEPF office?
Simply where my view is based on on your question.
Yeah.
If you want a status check, go to your app. Look at the app. From the previous session, we started to update based on the 185,000 cases that's already processed, as well as cases that's in process of payment. We do update the app now with the current status. Yes, your tax directive was finalized. We are busy processing, etc. So my first suggestion to any active member who was paid or not paid is go to your app, make sure that you have a status update. Obviously, if you're paid, you will not inquire, but we also get inquiries where people have already paid. Why did I only get this amount?
Yes.
And that's where the tax deductions come in. But go to the app, then call center, because sometimes it's you need to incur expenses to go to a regional office. You drive there or you get transport to your regional office. So use all of the channels, and employer also a good channel. The employers are definitely working with us. We're picking that up. The questions they're asking, it's educated questions. We anticipate the same type of questions, so they're assisting us on that one.
All right, Meiring, another phase is still coming, and we're waiting to host you again in the next couple of weeks to share more details.
Thanks a lot.
Great chatting to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Many thanks to our studio guests for being with us today. Nani babukele ngekuba nathi kuze kube manje asihlangana futhi ke ngesikhathi lesitako lapho kumamba phambili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure naku SABC Plus app lapho ke sitaba sinilethela ke lenye ke indzaba letawutsinza nini namalungelo enu njengabathengi. From Miss Mphiwe Ngcongwane and the rest of the team, sizike nisale kahle, wishing you all a great week ahead. Bye bye. Yilungelo Lakho,